The skies above Jerusalem wept crimson tears as Seraphim, youngest of the six-winged seraphim, descended through layers of reality that shimmered like gossamer veils between worlds. Her radiance, normally blinding to mortal eyes, was dampened to a subtle luminescence that rippled beneath her skin like liquid moonlight. She had not walked among humans for 7 centuries, not since the Great Purge when the Nephilim bloodlines were hunted to near extinction. Yet here she was, drawn by a disturbance in the cosmic tapestry, a thread pulled loose where it should not have been. The ancient city sprawled beneath her, a labyrinth of stone and shadow where the profane and sacred had coexisted since time immemorial. Humans scurried through narrow streets, blissfully unaware of the celestial being in their midst. Seraphim's true form, a magnificent arrangement of wings, eyes, and holy fire, remained folded into the shape of a tall woman with eyes like captured galaxies and hair that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. She felt the anomaly, before she saw it, a ripple in the divine current that flowed through all creation. It emanated from a modest dwelling near the edge of the city, where the prosperous quarters gave way to squalor. The contrast was jarring even to her immortal sensibilities, accustomed as she was to the perfect geometry of the heavenly spheres. "Curious," she whispered, her voice carrying harmonics that caused nearby birds to fall silent. "What manner of power stirs in such a humble vessel?" With a thought, she rendered herself invisible to mortal perception and passed through the dwelling's walls, as if they were no more substantial than memory. Inside she found a gathering of humans, some standing, others seated on simple cushions. At the center of their attention lay a man on a pallet, his limbs twisted and atrophied, clearly having not borne his weight for decades. Beside him knelt a woman whose presence immediately commanded Seraphim's full attention. There was nothing visibly remarkable about her, neither beauty nor strength by human standards, yet something in her bearing spoke of an unshakable resolve. Her hands rested gently on the paralyzed man's forehead, and her eyes held a compassion so profound that even Seraphim, who had witnessed the birth of stars, felt momentarily humbled. "Miriam," the paralyzed man whispered, his voice cracked from disuse, "you should not have come. The sentinels search for you still." "Let them search," the woman replied, her voice carrying the quiet authority of mountains. "I will not abandon you, Nathaniel. Not after what you sacrificed for me." Seraphim's perception shifted, peering deeper into the woman's essence. What she saw made her recoil in shock, a soul latticed with threads of celestial light, a pattern she had seen only once before, in the children of the Grigori. This woman, this Miriam, carried the diluted blood of the Watchers, the fallen angels who had taken human wives against divine decree. "A Nephilim descendant," Seraphim breathed, still living among them. The purge had been thorough, orchestrated by the dominions with ruthless efficiency. That any trace of the forbidden bloodlines remained was both heresy and miracle. Yet here stood living proof, tending to a broken man with a tenderness that seemed at odds with the legendary might of her ancestors. "The sentinels were here yesterday," an elderly woman informed Miriam, fear evident in her quavering voice. "They questioned the entire street. They know he sheltered you during the last culling." "Then we have little time," Miriam replied, her focus unwavering. "Nathaniel, do you remember what you told me when you first found me hiding in your storehouse? A child covered in the blood of her slaughtered family." The paralyzed man's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I said that not all heaven's children are blessed with wings, but all are blessed with choice. You chose to protect me," Miriam continued, her fingers tracing ancient symbols on his brow that Seraphim recognized with growing alarm, patterns of healing known only to the higher celestial orders. "Even when the sentinels broke your body for it." Seraphim moved closer, her essence vibrating with tension. This was forbidden knowledge, sealed away even from most angels. How had this diluted Nephilim accessed such sacred geometry? "What I did," Nathaniel replied, his voice stronger now, "I would do again 1,000 times." "Then rise," Miriam commanded, her voice suddenly resonant with power that sent ripples through the dwelling's very foundations. "Rise and walk with me, as you once carried me to safety." The air in the room grew dense with potential. molecules vibrating at frequencies beyond human perception. Seraphim watched astonished as divine energy flowed from Miriam's hands into Nathaniel's broken form, not the raw, destructive power the Nephilim were infamous for, but something refined, focused, healing. Light bloomed beneath Nathaniel's skin, following the paths of atrophied muscles and fused bones. His body arched in silent agony as decades of damage began to reverse. Cells regenerating, nerves reawakening, tissue knitting itself whole once more. "Impossible," Seraphim whispered, forgetting her concealment. Miriam's head snapped up, her eyes fixing directly on the Seraphim's location. "We have a witness," she said calmly, though her hands never left Nathaniel's transforming body. "One of the burning ones graces us with her presence." The humans in the room gasped, looking around, in confusion and fear. Only Miriam seemed unperturbed by the celestial intruder. "Show yourself, Seraphim," she continued. "If you have come to judge, then do so openly." Caught off guard, Seraphim allowed her form to materialize partially, still diminished enough to spare the human's sanity, but visible as a tall figure wreathed in subtle, shifting light. "How do you see me?" she demanded, her voice causing the clay vessels in the room to vibrate. "And how do you command powers reserved for the healing choir?" Miriam's lips curved in a smile that held both sadness and triumph. "I see you because I was taught to look, and I heal because I was taught that too, by one who loved humanity enough to fall for them." Realization dawned on Seraphim with the force of a nova. "Raphael," she breathed. "You were instructed by Raphael." The Archangel's disappearance centuries ago had been one of heaven's most closely guarded mysteries. The official record claimed he had been dispatched on a mission to the farthest reaches of creation, but rumors had persisted among the lower. Angelic orders, whispers of disillusionment, of questions that bordered on heresy. "He found me after the purge," Miriam confirmed, "a broken child with power I couldn't control. He taught me to channel it toward healing rather than destruction, to satisfy the divine purpose within me through compassion rather than conquest." Beneath her hands, Nathaniel's transformation continued. Bones straightened with audible cracks that made the human observers wince. Muscles swelled and tightened, regaining their intended shape and function. His sallow skin flushed with healthy color as revitalized blood flowed through regenerated vessels. "This man sheltered me when your kind would have seen me executed for the blood in my veins," Miriam explained. "He paid for that mercy with his mobility, his livelihood, his future. Today I return what was taken from him." Seraphim observed the miracle unfolding before her with conflicting emotions. By heavenly law, she should strike down this remnant of a forbidden bloodline and any who sheltered her. Yet the power Miriam wielded was unmistakably holy in nature, not the corrupted force that had made the original Nephilim so dangerous and unpredictable. "The Sentinels will sense this working," Seraphim warned, surprising herself with the implicit offer of assistance her words contained. "They will come in force." "Then we must be quick," Miriam replied, her focus intensifying. With a final surge of power that momentarily blinded even Seraphim's celestial senses, the healing completed. Nathaniel gasped, his lungs expanding fully for the first time in decades. He raised his hands before his face, staring in wonder at limbs that now responded to his will. "Miriam," he whispered, "what have you done?" "Only what you taught me," she answered softly. "That mercy is stronger than judgment." The paralyzed man who had sacrificed everything to protect a hunted child sat up, then stood, tentatively, at first, then with growing confidence. The room erupted in exclamations of awe and praise to the divine, though none fully understood the miracle they had witnessed. Seraphim watched, transfixed, as Nathaniel took his first steps in 20 years. His movements were awkward but strengthening with each moment as his body remembered its purpose. When he reached Miriam, he fell to his knees before her, not in weakness, but in an act of profound gratitude. "Rise," Miriam said, echoing her earlier command but with gentle humor now. "You've spent enough time on your back." The intimate moment between healer and healed was shattered by a sound that made Seraphim's essence contract in alarm, the resonant hum of celestial bronze, the distinctive vibration of weapons wielded by heaven's enforcers. The sentinels, Seraphim announced. They approach. Miriam helped Nathaniel to his feet. Then we must go. I have prepared a way. They will pursue you beyond the city walls, beyond any mortal sanctuary, Seraphim warned. Your power has betrayed your location. Then what would you have us do, Seraphim? Miriam challenged, her eyes reflecting a wisdom far beyond her apparent years. Surrender to execution for the crime of existing? Of using divine gifts to heal rather than harm? Seraphim found herself at a crossroads she had never anticipated in her long existence. Heaven's law was absolute. The Nephilim bloodlines were condemned, their eradication ordained by the highest authorities. Yet before her stood undeniable evidence that perhaps that judgment had been flawed. There is more to this than I understand, Seraphim admitted, the words foreign on her tongue. Angels of her rank did not acknowledge uncertainty. They embodied divine certainty. Miriam's expression softened. That is the beginning of wisdom, Burning One. Outside, the distinctive sound of armored wings grew louder. The sentinels, lesser angels charged with maintaining heaven's edicts on earth, would show no mercy. They were beings of pure function, untroubled by the nuances that now plagued. Seraphim, I can create a diversion, Seraphim found herself offering, another unprecedented act, her false trail to lead them eastward, away from your escape. Miriam studied the Seraphim with penetrating intensity. Why would you do this? It contradicts everything your kind has enforced for centuries. Because, Seraphim replied, the truth, forming as she spoke it. I have witnessed something that challenges what I believe to be absolute, and wisdom demands investigation before judgment. A crash resounded from the street. The sentinels had begun their search of nearby dwellings. They would reach this house within minutes. Go, Seraphim commanded, her wings partially unfurling in preparation. I will occupy them. Nathaniel stepped forward, his newly restored body moving with increasing confidence. Come with us, he urged Miriam. I know the hidden ways through the city. Miriam hesitated, her gaze still locked with Seraphim's. What I have shown you today is but a fraction of what Raphael revealed before he disappeared. There are others like me, not abominations, but healers. We call ourselves the reconciled. A new order, Seraphim murmured, the implications staggering. One that bridges the divide between human and divine, Miriam confirmed. Neither fully angel nor fully human, but something that honors both. Another crash, closer now. The sentinels were methodical in their search. Go, Seraphim repeated more urgently. Miriam nodded, taking Nathaniel's hand. Look for us in the broken places, Seraphim, where healing is most needed. As they slipped through a concealed passage in the dwelling's rear wall, Seraphim expanded her presence, allowing her full glory to manifest. The tiny house blazed with celestial light as she shed her human guise, 6 massive wings unfurling, to fill the space with impossible geometry. When the sentinels burst through the door moments later, they found only one of the highest order of angels, her radiance forcing them to shield their lesser eyes. Seraphim, their leader acknowledged, dropping to one knee. We did not know you walked among mortals. I pursue a greater threat, she informed them, the lie uncomfortable but necessary, one that has now fled eastward, toward the desert. Follow me. As she led heaven's enforcers away from Miriam and Nathaniel's escape route, Seraphim contemplated the revelation she had witnessed, a Nephilim descendant using forbidden knowledge not for destruction, but for healing, a human willing to sacrifice everything to protect what heaven had condemned, and perhaps most astonishingly, an archangel who had chosen to teach rather than execute. The implications would shake the celestial hierarchy to its foundations if she chose to report what she had seen. But for now, she would investigate further. She would seek out these reconciled and learn the truth of Raphael's apparent desertion. For the first time in her vast existence, Seraphim found herself questioning not just orders, but the very nature of divine justice. Perhaps being astonished was the first step toward a greater understanding, one that might eventually bridge the chasm between heaven and earth in ways the ancient laws had never anticipated. As she soared above Jerusalem, leading the sentinels, on a futile chase, She glimpsed two figures moving through the shadowed streets below, the healer and the healed hand in hand, carrying a secret that might one day transform both their worlds. And far above, beyond the reach of even angelic perception, something shifted in the cosmic order, a subtle realignment of celestial forces that would not be noticed for centuries to come, when the children of the reconciled would walk openly among humanity, fulfilling the prophecy that had been hidden, even from the angels themselves, that salvation would come not from above or below, but from the space between.